They help us when we are in need, from natural disasters to automotive injuries to violent attacks. They serve, protect, and sometimes risk it all for you.
Now, 13 News is stepping up to give the men and women who serve our communities every day the recognition they deserve.
A series of news stories that highlights the public servants who wear the badge.
A source of understanding and appreciation. We'll show you the unique ways first responders share themselves.
As we salute those who wear the badge.
Mondays on 13 News at 10, your Kansas news leader. 13 News is stepping up to give our men and women who serve our communities every day the recognition they deserve.
I was really scared that night.
We'll show you how a local law enforcement family dealt with the Dallas shootings. Monday on 13 News at 10, your Kansas news leader.
It was the deadliest event for U.S. law enforcement since the September 11 attacks, the Dallas shooting, where 5 police officers were killed and 9 others injured.
Since we know people that live in Dallas, it's a little closer to home.
Brooke Norman Tapp's husband is a police officer with the Riley County Police Department.
I was really scared that night, and I asked him not to go to work. I asked him to call in sick, and he said, I can't do that. That's not me.
I remember coming to work being very nervous about all the things that were going to happen and listening to the radio. And that night I was in Aggieville, and I remember looking around at rooftops and things, just trying to be careful. It could happen anywhere, so I remember being kind of cautious.
The Tapps have been a law enforcement family for almost 9 years. Officer Tapp has worked in several teams at RCPD, from the emergency response unit to investigations. The couple have learned to work together to ward off the stress that comes with a career in law enforcement.
That was a learning process for me too. When he comes home, he needs to decompress and be able to leave work at work.
If I've seen something that no one wants to see or something like that, I'd say I had a rough night or something, and she knows when I want to talk about something or I don't.
And the night of the Dallas shooting, in the midst of so much fear, the two were comforted by the community's support.
And all night long, people were coming up and thanking us for what we do and being very, very polite, very complimentary and very thankful for what we do.
And shaking his hand and thanking him for his service, and that was very comforting to know that we do still live in a small town where people care about people.
Kenya Mills, 13 News.
News leader.
The Commission on Accreditation of Ambulance Services has accredited AMR and Shawnee County, signifying that AMR Kansas has met the gold standard, providing the community quality patient care and EMS service. In our Monday Salute the Badge, that gold standard exemplified by these 2 men who saved the life of a young woman. 13's Tori Mason at Salute the Badge shares their story.
It was a reunion unlike any other. Jeanette Munoz met these men once before, only she doesn't remember it.
I was unconscious when they found me.
On May 14th, Jeanette and her sister were crossing Topeka Boulevard when a pickup sent them flying across the street.
I had a traumatic brain injury as well as a broken collarbone, broken shoulder blade, 9 broken ribs, fractured my neck, and broke my pelvis in 4 places.
7 months later, inside the same ambulance Jeanette once fought for her life, she met the men who saved it.
There's no greater feeling for me is to have Jeanette sitting here. And, from what we saw that day in that intersection to this is amazing.
AMR paramedics and EMTs see people on the worst, if not the last, day of their lives. When Brandon Wenger and Matthew Orozco first saw Jeanette, they weren't sure which it would be.
It was really awkward for me to be sitting across the table from her earlier talking about her ordeal because we don't normally get to see that in our line of work.
Like emergency room doctors, EMTs must work quickly but precisely. Only they're not in a room full of nurses. They may be on a street surrounded by bystanders, or in your mother's nursing home, or at your son's baseball game, and eventually in the back of a moving vehicle, doing everything they can to keep you alive.
We're not going to be able to save everybody, but the ones that we can save are so special.
No one day is the same, no call alike, but their mission is always clear.
We show up, we do everything we can, we hope for the best outcome, we give everything we have for each and every patient, and in the end, most of the time, no one knows who we are.
But Matthew says that's okay, because if a patient lives to forget them, or in this case, lives to thank them, That's reward enough. Tori Mason, 13 News.
A great group shot there. There are only 170 EMS agencies in North America, just 1% of all the ambulance services which are currently accredited, so that is quite an accomplishment.
You might say he would go to the mat for his community. Shawnee County Sheriff's Lieutenant Justin Vest says it's only right to give back, as we learned in this week's Salute the Badge. Justin Vest can pin down 3 main loves in life: the law, the mat, and his family. And it's his love for the third,
yeah, that was nice,
that drives his desire to help others be better.
And then put your hip all the way to
the other 2.
I get a little bit of the best of both worlds. There are a lot of sacrifices and a lot of time sacrifices that, as a coach and as a law enforcement officer, that we make. It takes away from the family, but it also helps me provide for my family, so they motivate me to do better.
The veteran Shawnee County Sheriff's Lieutenant traces his discipline for the job to the gym.
It's been a huge part of my life ever since I was about 6 years old, and I've always felt a pretty strong connection to wrestling.
Back then, older brother Bo, an eventual NAIA national champion in college, was his mentor.
Okay, let me see.
Today, Vest hopes to fill that same role for the next generation of wrestlers as an assistant coach at Shawnee Heights.
His head's going to be on the inside on this one. To me, it's about giving back to the sport. And so all the lessons that I've learned in life through wrestling, I'd like to pass those along to these wrestlers. And then as you're rolling,
it's just rewarding in a way that it's hard to put into words.
Everybody loves Vest, honestly. He just brings the love. I think having an officer on the team and as a coach makes us want to be model citizens and better people in general.
Maybe they look at me beyond the badge and they see the person that I am, and they see that I'm truly there for them and to try to help them be better. And I think that's probably the coolest thing that I could see, as a coach.
So you have good control.
Coaching also plays a role in his day job. Vest oversees training, recruiting, and community services for the Sheriff's Office.
I hope to just make a positive impact in the community and have an opportunity to help, and I can help.
For all those efforts, Vest was among the most recent honorees in Topeka's 20 under 40. But none of it matters, he says, without that other love: wife Tricia, 9-year-old daughter Addison, and a son on the way.
At the end of the day, we're in this job to help people. I don't know what I'd be doing if I wasn't doing it in law enforcement.
And Lieutenant Vest does put in some long days during wrestling season. He goes into the office early so that he can put in his full day at work before he then heads out to practice. And Ralph, I should tell you, Sheriff Jones has nicknamed him the Gentle Giant. Ooh. And I asked Justin about that. He said he's okay with it, although he really doesn't think he's tall enough to fit the bill. But his daughter likes it, so it's okay.
I was wondering, Melissa, when Sheriff Jones pinned him for the office.
I get it. Not that way. Not that way. By the way, we do want to know any law enforcement officer or first responder who you feel is deserving of a salute. So email 13news@WIBW.com. Let us know why.
Especially. Yeah. Christy Powell is a Topeka officer inspired by the elements, the hot fire of the Special Olympics torch, or the freezing water of the polar plunge. Her name is synonymous after a decade and a half of wearing the badge, doing her job tirelessly, also advocating on behalf of Kansans who aspire to new heights in Special Olympics. Her double journey began with a phone call in 1999, her second year on the job at Topeka Police, a phone call that changed her life.
And the social worker was like, "Oh wow, they sent you." I'm like, "Yep, it's just me." And the individual that I was going to be talking with was much bigger and much stronger than me. Somehow we made it work, and we ended up sitting on a curb and having a conversation with what was upsetting him.
That social worker, Kendra, called Christy again, next time asking her if she was interested in sports.
I love sports, and inviting me to a track practice.
And from there, she was hooked. A decade and a half later, her devotion to the cause in the new millennium was rewarded.
Was lucky enough to represent Kansas law enforcement, running with the Flame of Hope, which is what they call the Special Olympic Flame. So law enforcement, we are guardians of that flame. I had teammates from all different parts of the world on my team. We had some communication issues at times, but it all worked out. And they're lit, and there's fire coming off of there, depending on the which way the wind's blowing.
Is it heavy?
It does get heavy, especially when you're holding it up in the position that it needs to be held, so that you hold it with the respect it deserves.
I gave me and my mom, my dad, we gave her a torch that we received from the torch bear thing here in Topeka, and we gave it to her because she didn't get a torch from in LA. Only the athletes did, so we gave her our torch, and she had happy tears. I had happy tears. She makes me smile whenever I see her, and she always has those warm smiles whenever she sees all of us athletes here in Kansas.
But you always seem so happy. You still have your ups and downs?
Yes.
And how does she help you with that?
She just tells me it's all right, you're doing great, just be proud of yourself.
There's been times when I've been praised for some of my involvement with Special Olympics, but truly I've been given so much more. My life's been changed.
In what ways?
Really just hugs and smiles. Sometimes in this line of work, you don't get a lot of those, but I get them every time I go to a Special Olympic event.
Every time Kansas Highway Patrol Master Trooper Ryan Mosher gets behind the wheel of his patrol car, he reflects on those who came before.
As I get older in age, I think we can become more sentimental about what we do and our legacy.
In particular, his older brother Darren, a sergeant at the Johnson County Sheriff's Office, and their great-uncle Eldon Miller, a sergeant in the Kansas Highway Patrol, a man they never actually met.
My great-aunt Marion shared stories and uniform patches and some of the leather holster and belt that he wore.
The stories told were incredible. I mean, just of a hero, actual street hero. That's just something you look up to as a boy.
Uncle Eldon was an Army Staff Sergeant in World War II, then joined KHP in 1953. January 19, 1968, he was assisting Johnson County Sheriff's deputies in the search for 2 bank robbery suspects.
And I just had talked to Eldon Miller.
Retired Johnson County Detective Ed Hayes was there.
Somebody yelled, "We need a car around here for cover," so I ran to the car, and he had beat me. And he was sitting there in the seat. He got shot through the windshield into the forehead. And I mean, he was dead instantly.
Sergeant Eldon Miller was the first Kansas Highway Patrol trooper killed by gunfire in the line of duty. Nearly 50 years later, Ed joined the Mosher family as a permanent memorial to Sergeant Miller was signed into law.
He was a hero, and we honor his sacrifice.
Ryan and Darren's parents, Don and Barb Mosher, spearheaded efforts to rename a stretch of Highway 75 near Yates Center, Eldon's hometown, as the Sergeant Eldon K. Miller Memorial Highway.
Thank you guys very much for doing this.
This is a long time coming, because he died a hero.
It'll be a daily reminder that Eldon gave his life for a purpose.
As they find their great-uncle's name etched in stone, Ryan and Darren admit they're perhaps just now realizing how much they embody Eldon's legacy.
I didn't realize that it would be such a big deal to be part of the community and the county where he died, and then my brother being part of the agency where he served.
They strive to continue his example. Each time they hit the road, they say, it's about more than just their family.
Lives are lost every day in law enforcement, and they're sacrificed for you, for me. It's important to know that people out there are, on your side and want to help and want to make a difference.